Show of hands once more. All right. How many of you have things outside this classroom, even though we're heading into the holidays, are stressing you out a little bit? Me too, guys. Me too. I'm a little stressed today, too. So I'm going to be taking out my stress in the form of high energy. So I hope that's okay with you guys. We're going to be finishing chapter 11 today. We most likely will not do our review today. I doubt we'll get that far, but we're going to finish chapter 11. A reminder, if you have not yet done them, the online exercises. I have 2 chapters I covered online with an open book, open notes test that, by the way, counts as a full test grade, meaning if you didn't do so well on one of the tests or both of the tests, you could bump up your test grade. That's due tonight at midnight. Please get it done. I'm going to be grading those tomorrow. Our final exam, guys, is going to be chapters 11, 13, and 17, possibly. It depends how much we get through, because we've got a total of 3 classes left together after today. If we don't cover it in class, it's not on the final. Any questions about this, guys? What questions can I answer? So we have a total of possibly 3 chapters, and our final is going to be in this room, 8 a.m., the first day of finals, and you're out the door. Hey, by the way, a couple of you are making up an exam for me later today. I had originally scheduled several of you to meet me at my office. We're going to be meeting in room 214, which is the conference room upstairs. If you have yet to make up your exam, 2 o'clock, I'll meet in the conference room. I teach until 2 o'clock, so I may be a couple of minutes late, but we'll give you a full period to be able to take the exam if you're doing a make-up exam with me today. But we're going to jump right in, guys. We talked about the way that we train people. We left off talking about things like on-the-job training. Help me get back in. And guys, the more quickly you respond to what we talked today, the better this class will be for all of us. Will somebody tell me, what's an advantage of on-the-job training? If you're training somebody by having them work with you, what might be an advantage of that? What do you think? Yes, sir.
Hands-on experience and learn from somebody.
Yeah, they learn from the natural environment. I bet if you were the guy who was tasked with training me, let's say, for example, we work in the subway, and you have to train me today. Why is that a pain in the butt for you? Exactly. I'm going to slow you down. So it comes down to on-the-job training is good, but it also slows people down. Apprenticeships typically are associated with the trades. If you're a builder, if you're a carpenter, if you're an electrician, you can learn by being an apprentice. And by the way, that's a new thing in the white-collar world right now, too. Companies like GE, Cisco, IBM are actually hiring college graduates and turning them into IT professionals by giving them paid apprenticeships. By the way, I give you permission to look this up in class. Look up the IBM apprenticeship program. They're paying new college graduates sometimes north of 6 figures to learn how to be a part of IBM. They're great programs. We also have online training, job simulation, etc. There's lots of ways to train people and bring them into our organization. Now, the difference between training and development goes as follows. If I want to train somebody a skill, for example, if I want to train them how to use a word processor, if I want to train them how to do something specifically, use a piece of hardware or a drill or a component, that's training. If I want to grow somebody into a leader, that's development. The difference is one takes more time and effort than the other. Anybody can be trained to do most things. I know that sounds crazy, but I think most people are pretty versatile. I can teach anybody in this room how to hammer a nail. I can teach anybody in this room how to use Photoshop or how to use PowerPoint. Not everybody can be developed into a leader because it's longer, it takes more time, and it's more homeopathic, meaning you have to develop the whole person. Ways that we can do that. On-the-job training is great, on-the-job coaching, I should say, for management folks. For example, if you're an assistant manager, getting direction from somebody who's a good manager is a way to grow. Being an understudy, meaning you might go with somebody who is already working as the manager and be the right-hand guy or right-hand girl. You can learn a lot that way. By the way, the most I ever learned in all of the positions I've ever worked for before I was a teacher, I was a right-hand man for a couple of different supervisors, people who were company managers. And I ended up doing parts of their job with them or for them when they were not around. Best experiences I ever had. Taught me about networking, taught me about working a room, taught me about people. Job rotation means you might get put around to all the different parts of a company. Why might that be a good idea for a manager? This side of the room. Why might that be a good idea for a manager to try to do multiple jobs within the company? Yes?
So like that way you have a deeper understanding for how things happen.
That's exactly right. You understand why things are hard for some people, for example. You can empathize. You understand if somebody's trying, pardon my French, if somebody's trying to BS you. You know that too. If you've done that job, you can say whether or not it's true. And then we also have what we refer to as off-the-job courses and training. You can go to management training. Now, one of the things that people always talk about is why we leave companies. Well, yes, sometimes people do leave, especially at 4% unemployment, because they are unhappy with their compensation. They want to be paid better. But if you look at the pie chart up here, and again, if you're reading Forbes or the Wall Street Journal or whatever, the things that tend to drive people away from companies, look at this one. Almost a quarter of people leave because they're unhappy with how they're being managed. They're leaving because they're not being recognized for their good work. They're leaving because they're bored. If you have people in your company who are leaving because you're bored, because you're not engaging them, you should be reconsidering how you manage your company. So these are reasons why people leave. We want to be fulfilled at work. Now that's why people actually leave. Here's the trick. This is why managers, why chief financial officers think that people leave. And they think it's because of limited advancement. People aren't getting a chance to go forward, that they're unhappy with management, and also inadequate salary and benefits. Sometimes what this indicates is that our management isn't always in tune with what's really happening with the rank and file. It's a tough thing. Guys, I'm going to be asking you, because we haven't done this in a while, I would like you to use your phone or your laptop and answer this question. Of all the things listed up here, what would make you most likely to take a job? And it's pollev.com/KentTonkin063. Would it be A, the money, B, the benefits, C, the work itself, or you want to be able to work and have a job you enjoy, D, the work environment, the opinion of the company, the interaction with a recruiter or other employees, or other? What's the reason you would choose to take a job? I would love to see what you have to say about this. That's Kent Tonkin. There we go. pollev.com/KentTonkin063. And by the way, none of these are wrong answers. We'll give it a second, make sure everybody gets a chance to answer. Wow, money and the nature of the job running neck and neck. Give it another second for everybody to get a chance to answer. All right, we're gonna wrap it up in 3, 2, and 1. So you all chose different reasons why you might take a job. Now, was somebody who chose money, tell me why they picked that answer. It's not a bad answer. Will somebody tell me why they chose money? Yes?
That's why you get a job, so you can make money.
Yeah, you got to absolutely take care of your bills, right? You got to eat. Well, here's the other part of it too. Guys, as you go on your corporate progression, as you get into your first, second, third jobs, does money become more or less of a motivator? I think less for most people. Why do you say less? Yes?
As different, like if you make enough money to survive, like when that need is met, it's no longer a motive for you. So you go like a hierarchy of needs.
Exactly right. You're even using Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Well played, Jackson. Well done. Guys, the hierarchy of needs basically says that we start off in the workforce, we're satisfying our basic needs. You got to eat. You got to have a place to sleep. You got to take care of things that need taken care of from a base level. As we move up, though, for many people, money becomes less of a motivator because the money comes with the promotion. So we're no longer focused on that. We're focused on where we're going employment-wise. Money is a perfectly acceptable motivator for people, though, and especially for your first job. Well, somebody who chose the nature of the job itself, tell me why they made that decision. Why did you make that choice? Because it's another good choice. Who picked that one? Somebody be willing to own up their decision. It's a good choice, yes.
I just compared it to money or like salary issues, and I figured that I couldn't work in a job where I was really satisfied.
Yeah, I agree. We get to that thing called self-actualization. And here's the thing too, guys. Sometimes the nature of the job takes care of the money too. If you're doing something you love and you're good at it, the money usually comes with it. Other people were picking things like work environment. Well, it looks like we probably had one person who picked other. Is that person brave enough to tell me what the other motivating factor was? Yes?
I could just say from experience, it's not
Interesting answer.
a combination of money, the nature of the job, not only the work environment, but where the company is located.
So you're talking about quality of life. Overall, it's called the total compensation package. What I'm here to tell you guys is none of these are wrong answers. If one of them is your stronger motivator, that's great. If you have something that's more homeopathic like that, that's great as well. We just finished up networking and mentorship week at St. Francis University, and most of you went to mentorship day. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this other than to say, even in our connected online world right now, getting out, pounding the pavement, and actually meeting people to network with will pay you dividends, guys. Here's one of the tricks. In the United States, we're talking about Western culture. What age group, in what age group is most power and money located in the United States? If you had to think of people by age, what age group of individual has the most money and power in the United States? I'm sorry? Middle age is good, but we're going even the higher side of middle age. Like, maybe like, pick a number, pick a guess. Yeah. That's a really good guess. If you get over 52, 55, people who are retiring from their first careers have all the money and the power in this country right now. That's a problem politically, too, because those people vote more than young people vote, which is why we don't have a young voice in politics right now. But from a business side of things, let's compare somebody who's 55 and somebody who is 22 or 18 and has a really big business idea. What's the difference between how those two age groups connect? What's the difference between how a 55-year-old and a 22-year-old are going to communicate? Yes?
Experience.
Experience for sure. That's a great observation. What about the medium in which we connect? How does a 22-year-old connect with other people versus a 55-year-old? Yes? You got it. People who are into social media, online communications, all these sorts of things. Here's my point in bringing this up. If you're trying to do a startup company, if you're trying to get money from somebody over the age of 50, having physical networking skills to be able to walk up, make eye contact, and shake their hand, those are skills that will pay you dividends until your generation becomes the dominant generation. It's a good thing to be able to do. If you can get somebody in an older generation to become your mentor and show you the ropes, the world is your oyster. You can learn from them how to network, how to work a room. Even going out these days and still talking to people makes sense. Now, we're still talking about performance. We're still talking about why we want to be a more inclusive work environment. We're going to be very quick on this one because the truth seems to be self-evident. Guys, what are some accommodations we might need to make in the workplace to allow more women to succeed? There's a very obvious thing. There's one thing that women can do that men cannot. What is it? It is to conceive children. Meaning, if you are trying to empower females in your work environment, you've got to have some sort of flexible work environment for childcare, other things. A lot of people are single parents. And by the way, that trend is increasing with males as well. There's more male single parents coming around these days too. So those kinds of programs can benefit lots of people. The bottom line is we don't have as many people of color and women in management in this country. It's something we got to work on. In the big Wall Street financial firms, if you had to guess, out of 100% of managers in Wall Street financial firms, what percentage of managers in those firms are female? Yes?
14%.
It's less than 15. So we're talking about an industry that is almost completely male-dominated. And that means we got to get some females in there too. There's actually something called the glass cliff. Now, we've heard of the glass ceiling, right? What's the glass ceiling? You guys heard this term? What's the glass ceiling mean, Sam?
It's like the fact that it's hard for women to get above a certain point.
You can see it, but you can't reach it because they're kept out of certain areas. The glass cliff is a new phenomenon where we're seeing now that women are getting promoted into management during times of crisis when there's a high likelihood of failure. Who knows who the CEO of General Motors is? Anybody know? She's a female. Yeah. Mary Barra. She is the first female CEO of a major car company in the United States. First female CEO. She makes $20 million a year and has been voted CEO of the year for the last 5 years by the Detroit Automotive Press. She inherited GM when the company was almost going to fall off the map right after the recession of 2008 and brought it back. So women in management can do amazing things too. Guys, because we're still talking about performance management, I know we're moving very quickly here. Guys, what's up? No, what's up, guys?
No, nothing.
Oh, what's that? You can diss America. That's okay. Seriously,
When we were talking about the car industry.
Oh yeah, there's lots to make fun of there for sure. Like, what's the most terrible thing about American cars?
I'm not a big fan of them.
You know why I'm not a big fan of American cars, even though I like American cars? I can't get a manual transmission in anything. How stupid is that? Like, how many of you guys are car people? How many of you, by show of hands, can drive a manual? All right, it's 2019, and the new highest performance Mustang does not come with a manual transmission. The newest, highest-end Shelby you cannot get with a manual. You get with a double clutch automatic, it's fast as hell. The new Corvette, which is arguably the car that's going to return American cars to prominence as far as being world-class sports cars. The freaking thing's mid-engine, and I can't get a manual transmission on it. Seriously, what is wrong with Detroit? I'll tell you what's wrong with Detroit is they're building the cars that people want, and nobody in this country wants a manual because people don't know how to drive. So you can diss American car companies all you want because I'll probably back you up on it. Bring back the manual. Save the driving experience. Am I right? Yes. What's that? Yeah, well, that's true. Jeep Wrangler's a whole other can of worms with me. I don't want to buy a $45,000 car that's going to get 16 recalls the first year I have. That's why I won't buy a Jeep. Yes. WRX is Japanese, though. It's a Japanese car. And also, you buy a WRX, all you're doing is buying a ticking time bomb called a head gasket. Seriously, I own one Subaru, never again. Never again. I got the head gasket issue. I will never drive another Subaru. But I'll talk about cars all day long, though. But Jeep Wranglers, man, here's the thing I think is funniest about the Jeep Wrangler. We got the most iconic American off-road vehicle ever. And how many of them actually get dirty and go off-road? Yeah, the older ones. People are using them. The most adventure most Jeep Wranglers see is if they're going to Martin's to pick up groceries at 10 p.m. because it's late. But yeah, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. I'm not going to argue they look cool, though. But let's get focused. Performance appraisal, guys, means we want to tell people how they're doing. We do performance appraisal so we can determine if somebody needs a raise, if somebody's doing a good job, or if they need help. When we tell somebody we're going to do your performance evaluation, let me ask you that. If you heard that phrase, hey, we need to meet later today for your performance evaluation, does that have a positive or negative connotation? Bad. It sounds bad. It sounds like punishment, doesn't it? That's one of the biggest problems we have in this country when it comes to performance management. We tell people when they're messing up. We don't tell them when they're doing a good job. Good companies, performance evaluations and performance appraisals mean we're telling people the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we're also giving them a path to increase their performance as well. A 360-degree review, however, means everybody around you gets to give you an evaluation. As an instructor at St. Francis University, I get a 360-degree evaluation every semester. You guys evaluate me, my boss evaluates me, and the university evaluates me. If you do this sort of thing, it means you're getting reviews from multiple perspectives. Are there things that you guys in this classroom know about me in terms of my performance that my own boss does not? Yeah, like what do you guys know that my boss doesn't?
It's your ability to connect with students because he's not a student.
Exactly right. He's not seeing it from that perspective. Would he have any idea if I showed up late every day? Unless a student told him about it, he'd never know. So there are ways that you guys know me. In fact, there are ways you guys know me that my own family doesn't know me because I spend time with you in a different way. And it's the same deal with a 360-degree appraisal. We want to make sure we're getting people all kinds of places to get feedback from. They can be very stressful as well. Ways that we make good use of performance evaluations. Number one, we explain to people what we're evaluating them on. For example, I hope that every time you guys take a test or do a writing assignment in this class, you understand how I'm scoring you. If not, I'm doing a terrible job on that end of things. So we're establishing performance standards. I'm communicating them. We're telling people to get a raise, you have to go up against this standard. You have to teach this many classes. You have to get this level of idea evaluation. Then we also talk about the standards themselves. How high did you score in terms of discussing the results? Let's sit down and have a conversation, and if there's something you're not doing well, let's fix it. Now, here's the other thing, too, guys. Here's why people hate performance evaluations. Can anybody guess why they hate performance evaluations? Yes?
People don't like to be told like what they really fix.
Nobody likes to be told that, as the old expression goes, nobody likes to hear their kids called ugly. Nobody likes to hear that they're not doing something well. That's half of the equation. What's the other half? Let's say, for example, all of you guys studied hard all semester. You did well on your tests. You did great on your papers. But I said at the end of the year, you know what? I'm going to just give all you guys a C anyway. How would you feel about that? I'd be standing next to the door when I said that so I could make a quick exit. Well, how would you feel about that? Oh, please, would you be happy? I'd be like, man, I'm going to grab some gasoline and set this man on fire because I worked my butt off all semester. I'm basically saying what you did didn't matter. It's the same deal with a performance evaluation. If I get an A++ on my performance evaluation and I get nothing for it, didn't matter. It was a waste of my time. You've got to be able to tie performance management to some kind of rewards. These things, at the very least, should be productive. We should be able to tell somebody, for example, are you doing well? Can we recognize the fact you did a good job? My boss does a great job with this stuff. When Dr. Fry sits down with me, he'll tell me what I did great, he'll tell me what I didn't do great, and he'll tell me what I need to work on. Here's the other thing, too, guys. If every single person, for example, is getting a terrible performance evaluation, maybe we need to re-examine who we're hiring, for that matter. That's another use of these. And we can also use them, unfortunately, in the disciplinary aspect to get rid of poor performers. So that would be a termination. Now, when you're doing these kinds of evaluations, we all make mistakes. For example, if I decided every student in this class, I'm going to determine your grade by how you compare to other people. How am I grading you? What's that called? It's grading on a curve. Yeah. And a lot of people don't like that because basically your whole value is based on comparison instead of inherent value. Instead, the same idea with the contrast effect. We should not be evaluating one employee against another. We should be evaluating them against a standard, for example. If somebody is playing sports and they're a high scorer, that's a universal standard. We know that we want to score points in a game. It's the same deal in the office. It's the same deal at work. We want to evaluate people based on their inherent value. We also have something called the halo and horn effect. And that can mean somebody does one thing wrong in one area and we write them off completely. Well, this person, for example, in a class, if somebody were not a good writer and they wrote one lousy paper and I decided at that point they're done for the semester, I'm only going to evaluate them in that opinion, that's the horn effect. The halo effect is somebody came up in class and did an amazing presentation. Because it was so good, I'm just going to grade them easy the rest of the semester and give them A's. That's a halo effect. And then we also have the similar to me effect. For example, a lot of you guys are car people in here, and we're talking cars this morning. If I gave everybody who liked cars an A in this class because I like cars, that would be a similar to me effect. Now, guys, we're going to hit one more slide before I take my first breather. But we're getting into the point because we're talking about rewards. We're talking about human resource management. Will you tell me, when you hear the word compensation, what does compensation mean? If you work, you get compensation. Yeah, absolutely. So in a company setting, well, obviously we have this guy who's clutching a boatload of cash, which, by the way, I can't wait. I've got one more portfolio to evaluate. Some of you guys made mad bank on your stock gains, like that kind of thing. But besides making money, how else do companies compensate employees? Yes? Benefits for sure. Guys, here's a guess game for you. If you got your first job out of college, and you got a $100,000 job, you hit the jackpot with your first job, and you got full benefits, pension, all that stuff, for that $100,000 job, what is your company actually paying you? Any guesses? Because it's higher. How much is that $100,000 job really worth? What do you think, Trevor?
Like 140, 130.
You are dead on, man. It's 130 to 135. Generally speaking, the cost of your benefits is about 30 to 40% of the worth of your job. If you want to know, for example, why somebody might take a lower paying job, sometimes the benefits are so good in specific companies, they'll work for the benefits. I'll give you a great example. I won't name names of some of my colleagues, but I've got colleagues in this school who could make twice what they're making here if they wanted to go back into industry, and they work here because they enjoy it, they get education for their kids, they get a lot of benefits, and they love working here. So compensation could be many things, guys. Good compensation helps us bring in the best and brightest, for example. We want to pull in people because they want to work here, and we want to compensate them well. Things beyond just pay. But before we get into the differences between salary, right now it's 25 after 9, and we're moving at a good clip, and I would like to pause for a question or a comment while I take a sip of coffee. What would you like to ask or say today? Sir?
You cook anything at all on Thanksgiving? Or?
I do not. Man, I am the world's worst cook. This is a true story. I think it's good to know what you're good at and what you're not good at. Did anybody in this class, I don't know if they even teach these classes anymore, anybody had a home ec class ever? All right. That was the only class I've ever had in my life where I got asked not to come back. I took home ec, and my group, we messed up Rice Krispie treats. We had sewing class, and I sewed this thing that was supposed to be a stuffed animal. It looked like a bad, nuclear experiment, like a squirrel had wandered into a reactor by the time it was done. And I'll never forget my teacher coming over to me. She was so cool and so nice. And I was thinking about coming back next semester, and she's like, Kent, not everybody's good at everything. Maybe you should go back and take an English class or something. And so she asked me not to come back. And so the truth is, I can't cook a damn thing. You would not want to eat if I was cooking. So... Yes?
What's your Thanksgiving day like?
Oh, I can't wait. Well, first of all, my wife and I are going to be heading to Harrisburg, and because we don't have any children, I get the duty of moving my mother-in-law. So my mother-in-law gets to go with us, which is okay. She's cool. We're going to go to Mechanicsburg, which is right outside Harrisburg. We'll go down to my brother-in-law's place, and now my brother-in-law, man, he can cook. This guy, he can cook anything from a 4-course meal that you could serve at a 5-star restaurant to doing wild game preparation. He can make venison so people in this room would think it was filet, and he's doing the cooking. So I'm going to drive my mother-in-law down there. I'm going to park it on the couch. I'm going to eat too much, and I'm going to watch football. How about you? What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
Pretty much the same.
Man, it's living the dream. It's the American dream right there. I'm in a good mood, guys. Give me one more question before we plow through the rest of this. Question or comment? Anything that's on your mind you'd like to say? Got to hear something from this side of the room. Come on, guys. Yes.
What's your favorite part of the Thanksgiving meal?
Pumpkin pie. I absolutely love I had an aunt who made the world's best pumpkin pie. God rest her soul. My wife has come close, but it's never quite the same. She's getting there though. She'll nail it. She'll nail it. How about yours?
Mashed potatoes.
Yeah. Hooray for carbs. In terms of the holidays, man, I'm pro gluten and I'm pro carbs. It's awesome. All right, guys, we're going to talk about compensation and pay systems. Here's the difference, guys. If you earn a salary or you earn an hourly wage, if you earn a salary, you're typically a white-collar person. Even though I'm wearing a blue shirt, I'm a white-collar employee because I do not get paid by the hour. I get paid based on getting my job done. If it takes me 40 hours a week or if it takes me 70, I get the same wage. Salary people are what we refer to as exempt from the Fair Labor Standards Act. That means that you can get compensated. Now, you have to make at least around $400 a week to qualify for that, but you can be paid and worked as much as somebody wants you to work. Somebody who earns an hourly wage, for example, in Pennsylvania, it's the same as the federal minimum, which is $7.25. Now, the minimum wage in Pennsylvania is going up. Does anybody know what it's going up to? Just passed the House. Minimum wage is going up to $9.50 over the next couple of years. So we're going to have a higher minimum wage. And there's a big push nationally for a $15 an hour minimum wage. If we had some more time, we'd debate that in this class because I have some opinions about it. I'm sure you do too. But the bottom line is you get $7.25 an hour as a federal minimum wage. If you work more than 40 hours a week, what do you get? And how's that calculated?
Time and a half.
You got it. And by the way, what most people don't know, it's time and a half pay or compensatory time at the discretion of the employee. So if you work 40 hours a week, take another 5 on there, 5 times 1.5, you're entitled to that many hours off if you'd rather have the time off instead of the pay. Make sense, guys? Most people don't know that, and plenty of employers violate that law. And we also have something called piecework. If you work in a factory, for example, you may get either your minimum wage or a piecework system, meaning if you hit a certain number of pieces you've assembled, you get a different wage and you get also incentives for working more efficiently. That works very well in factories. It's an oversimplification. Now, people, for example, who work in sales sometimes get commission. And if you're very motivated, for example, to make commission, if you like selling, you can make a lot of money earning commission. Sometimes it's commission plus a base. Sometimes it's just commission. We also have what we refer to as bonus plans. And that could mean, for example, if you hit certain production levels, you get a cash bonus. Here's something to remember, guys. If you're an employer and you have a choice of either raising somebody's hourly wage or giving them a one-time cash bonus, which do employers generally prefer and why? So you either raise, yes, what do you think? Yep, it's controlled. Instead of raising somebody's rate overall, I'm giving them a one-time bonus. And we also have what's referred to as profit-sharing plan. A lot of employee-owned companies have these. If the company's making money, you get a portion of the profits back to you. There's a company in Altoona, Pennsylvania called Your Building Center, which is owned by its own employees, and that's an example of a company that has a profit-sharing plan. You also can get what's called a gain-sharing plan, and that might mean, for example, if the company's quality went up overall, everybody gets a bonus check. Some people also get paid in stock options. Could you imagine if you've been one of the first people working for Amazon or Google or Apple and you've been paid in stock options? You'd be driving a solid gold Cadillac and living in a mansion at this point. So, guys, in terms of other things, in terms of the way we compensate people, we can do two types of compensation in terms of giving people raises or giving them better compensation. There's skill-based pay, and there's also gain sharing. So skill-based means, for example, if you get better at your job, if you get a degree, if you get a certification, if you make yourself more valuable, maybe we'll pay you more because you're more valuable to the company. If the entire company is producing well, or if you're producing more efficiently, you're getting paid for your performance, which is gain sharing pay. We talked about benefits, guys. Here's a big deal. If we go back to the early 20th century, most companies did not offer benefit plans. Why is that? What's different about the world today versus the world of the early 20th century, why more companies have benefit plans now? Yes?
To keep you there longer.
Oh, I think that's a great point. We want to keep employee loyalty, for sure. Is there something different about the healthcare industry, too? What's different? Yes?
There's a lot more money that goes in healthcare today. Also, people are also more aware of how health occurs.
I think you're absolutely correct. People are more conscious of their health. We're living longer. There's more chronic illnesses we've identified. For example, in the old days being the early 1900s, somebody might die of cancer and we have no idea what they died from. Literally, people just died. The profession of medicine really didn't become a professional thing, more or less, until the late 1800s, guys. The American Medical Association ran a very specific industry out of medicine, and I'm curious to see if anybody knows where people used to go for medical treatment prior to doctors being popular. Yep, you went to the barber shop. So the same guy who's shaving you and cutting your hair might pull your teeth and maybe, give you a diagnosis if you needed to have some leeches suck on your arm or whatever. And by the way, some of those old wives' tales have come to pass. I'll give you a brief little diatribe because this can show up as a bonus question as your reward for being here today. Guys, my wife used to work in wound care. So people who have diabetes, for example, or chronic wounds, those are the people she would work with. In 2019, we have medical grade leeches because leeches in their saliva has something called an anticoagulant. So if somebody has a blood clot, the saliva from leeches actually breaks up blood clots. And check this out, guys. This will gross you out, but it's absolutely true. They have medical grade maggots. If you have somebody who has dead skin, you can put maggots on their arm, and the maggots sealed into a wound will eat dead tissue without eating healthy tissue. And here's the other thing, too, in terms of healthcare, and this is an old wives' tale that's absolutely true. One of the best things you can put on a wound is honey. Does anybody know why? It's antibacterial. It still allows air to pass through it. So air gets to the wound, healing properties get to the wound, Bacteria does not. All those old wives' tales and stuff that the barber was doing, there was some scientific merit to some of it. So, but my point is, to go back to Ben's better analysis than mine, is that more people are aware of this stuff these days. And so, yes, these days about 30% of your salary comes into your benefits. And guys, in terms of U.S. GDP, anybody remember what percentage of U.S. GDP is healthcare? Anybody remember? It's a high percentage, yes. So close, 18 to 20. So 1 out of every $5 spent in the United States is spent on healthcare. How crazy is that, guys? And are we the healthiest country in the world? We are not. We spend more money than anybody, and our results fall out right in the middle. So our car companies need work, and so do our healthcare systems. So, guys, in terms of fringe benefits you might get, for example, special rates on mortgages if you've got a powerful company. You might get health insurance. You might get a company card, discounts on fitness clubs, all these things. You can pick what benefits you want in a cafeteria-style plan. The way this works, guys, just very quickly, if your company has cafeteria-style benefits, you get this number of dollars, and you can spend them how you want. Here's why that's great, guys. Between me on this side of the room and you guys over here, which side of the room probably values their health insurance a little more? You can be honest. Who's more likely to use health insurance? Yeah, old people like me. Absolutely. I fall down and it hurts. Stuff breaks all the time. You're going to remember the day, guys, where you fell and it was tough to get back up. That's a bad day in your life, but it also makes you glad you have health insurance. And if you have cafeteria-style benefits, you can pick where your money's going. I might decide I want more health care. I want lower deductibles. You might decide you want more things like fitness club memberships. You might want more on the savings side of things. It's up to you. So fringe benefits include all of these things, and you can buy them cafeteria-style. Soft benefits, we're not going to cover. It just means that some companies are offering pretty good benefits that go outside of healthcare. Now, some companies, guys, in the modern economy are going to new extremes to try to keep people engaged. I love it. If you work for Timberland Boots, you get 40 hours to go out and volunteer and do whatever you want all year. If you work for Facebook, every time you have a kid, you get 4 months off and you get $4,000 just for having a child. Penone Legal Services, though, offers a really good one. If you work for that law company, you get free divorces. Could you imagine that as like a promotion? You know, come on, guys, come work for our company. If you get tired of your spouse, we will help you out. In terms of vacation is another fringe benefit. We got everybody wants some time off. We got all these folks in terms of their average vacation days. Our friends in Europe tend to get more vacation days than we do, and they tend to take them. In America, we don't tend to take too many days off. Of all the countries in the world, guys, what country gives the most required days off? Yes. We got a guess for Germany. Any other guesses? It's a good guess, yes. Got a guess for Germany and France. It's a tie between Portugal and Australia. So these guys get 35 required days off. What country gives the least? It is the U.S., and we have 0 required days off. The exception being the Fair Medical Leave Act. But in terms of paid vacation, there is not a law in the books that requires a U.S. company to give anybody a paid day off. How do you guys feel about that? Is that a problem? I think it could be a problem. Why might that be a problem? Yes? Some companies do, but some don't. Here's where I see the problem with it. I think generally speaking, well-run companies take care of their people. I think you'll get a little insight into my political beliefs when I say what I'm about to say, but not a lot. I generally think companies will do right by people, especially in a high-demand economy. We can trust that you're going to try to get your best and brightest, so we're going to give good benefits. Here's the exception. If we have somebody who is a fast food worker, for example, who gets no required days off, and they've got the flu, and they've got a choice between either going to work and spreading the disease and getting paid, or staying home and not making money when they're already having trouble. Is there a chance that somebody with a really bad illness is going to show up for a food job on a specific day? Yeah, I think at times it becomes a public health issue. So I think that there's room for discussion on this in terms of at least having some minimal requirements to allow companies or to require companies to give some paid time off for those kinds of circumstances. The flip side is, could people in some of those industries abuse that? They certainly could. We've got to weigh the public health in here as well. So I know we're moving quick today, guys. Actually, we are moving quick. We got another 10 minutes together. We're going to finish this chapter. But before I get into the final sprint and get you off to your Thanksgiving vacation, we're going to pause for one more question before I do that. Question or comment? What would you guys like to ask or know today? Sir?
Even though there's no required days off in the U.S., have you ever, like, jobs that you've applied to or jobs that you've seen, are there any jobs that give zero days off, or do they all give vacation?
My very first job out of college, I worked as a part-time temp. And I was working for a technology company, but if I didn't work, I didn't get paid. So it was one of these things, if I was sick, I could certainly call off sick, but because I was a temporary part-time worker, I didn't get paid for that day. So I didn't take too many sick days because I needed it. I can't really think of too many quality jobs that wouldn't offer something like that, with the exception possibly something like fast food. Yeah, but yeah, and I think we're talking about a very small percentage of the population at this point in time. But the other complicating factor, honestly, beside illness, what's the biggest reason people miss work? I'm thinking about single people, for example. Childcare. If you're a single parent with a child, and all of a sudden your babysitter conks out on you, you can't leave the kid unattended, and most jobs won't let you take the kid to work either. So it's a problem. In terms of how we schedule people to make the jobs work for them, we have something called flex time. And that means you can work at any time you want so long as the job gets done. Netflix instituted a flex time plan for their employees. And they said, basically, we're no longer going to have vacation days or sick days. You can work whenever you want to work so long as the job gets done. You can take off as much time as you like. What do you think happened? What do you think happened with Netflix? You think they were abusing it? Yeah, I would have thought so too. Here's what happened. Nobody took any time off because everybody was terrified because they had no precedent in terms of what's the right amount of time to take off. They're saying we don't have to show up. They really mean that? They really mean this? They serious about this? And as a result, nobody was taking time off. Netflix had to clarify the policy and give guidelines. We also have something called a compressed work week. If you know somebody who works for a Walmart distribution center or in certain parts of healthcare, some people may work 3, 12, or 14-hour days. We also have something called job sharing. And that means, for example, John and I both want to work 20 hours a week, so we go in together and apply for the same job and split the 40 hours between us. We can do that as well. Flex times, sometimes though, they require what we refer to as core time. I kind of have that situation here, for example. There are 3 times today when I'm required, actually 4 times today I'm required to be on campus. One's 9 to 10, one's 10 to 11, one is 1 o'clock, and one's 2 o'clock. Those are my 3 classes and my office hours. So even though I can do whatever I want those other times, I'm required to be here during those times. That's called core time. For example, if we had a company and everybody wants to take off at the same time, we can end up with no staffing. So for example, we may have to work out that there are certain times when everybody is required to be there and certain times we can be more flexible. The compressed work weeks are great. The only issue that we sometimes get into, has anybody here ever regularly worked a 12 or a 14-hour day? It can get very grueling after a certain period of time. If you got somebody who's working in healthcare who's just worked 3 12-hour days, there's a greater chance for things like medical errors, for example. Some folks, for example, work from home. The idea of working from home, we're not going to talk about too much simply because we've covered it in depth before. It basically is tough because you got to deal with things like social isolation and you've got to have good self-discipline. It's great to keep people off the roads and all that sort of stuff. Job sharing plans like we just talked about, John and I splitting a job. It can be great for us because we have flexible schedules, and people sometimes are very enthusiastic about having some free time back in their schedule. So in terms of the way that things go, guys, and I know we're moving very quickly today, guys, sometimes when people are in companies, they get promoted, they move up. Sometimes people decide to leave or are asked to leave, and sometimes people retire. One of the biggest problems we're running into right now, since the 2008 recession, more older people are remaining in the workplace, which is making it difficult for younger managers to come up and fill those positions. So it can be very challenging to keep people motivated. In terms of terminations, in terms of letting people go, it's never easy to say goodbye. What it comes down to right now, guys, terminations and layoffs are down because the economy is good. We want to hang on to people. In 2008, more people were losing their jobs, even for things that were not their fault. It's never easy to say goodbye to somebody. It's never easy to let them go. So, we're not going to talk about wrongful discharge. We are, however, because we made good time today, going to spend the last 5 minutes of our class doing a brief review of this chapter. It's going to be very quick. Guys, we did good today. This was a lightning round. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling I've got my cardio. Guys, before we do this brief review, what questions would you like to ask? All right. Guys, here we go. So our review starts as follows. The process of determining staffing needs and then recruiting, selecting, developing, motivating, and compensating employees. What is that called? I'll give you hints. What the chapter's called? D is correct. It's human resource management. True or false? Women in the U.S. earn roughly 95% of their male counterparts' salaries. We talked about this earlier in the semester. Is that true or false? Who thinks true? Who thinks false? It is lower, guys. It's about 85% overall. We got to make that up. True or false? You can ask a potential hire about their obvious disability during an interview. Is that true or false? That is false. The whole way through, false. When is it acceptable to discuss a disability? C is correct. C for cookie and for correct. A studio that's filming a biography of Will Smith excludes an Asian individual is within the law. They're making a movie about Will Smith and a young Asian man applies to play Will Smith. They are within the law. Is that true or false? It is true. Anybody know why? It's called a BFOQ, bona fide occupational qualification. You can discriminate under certain circumstances. What's the best example of a BFOQ at St. Francis? President, who is a priest. Can you be a female and be a priest in the Catholic faith? Not currently. Which of the following is not included under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964? Is it race, color, sex, or physical disabilities? It is physical disabilities, not included. Having an unintended negative effect on a majority by providing opportunities to minority. What do we call that? What kind of discrimination is it? It's reverse discrimination. All right, a summary of the objectives of the job, type of work, responsibilities, duties, working conditions in relation to other jobs. Is that a job analysis, job description, job specification, or job design? Survey says B is correct. Which of the following is not necessarily a contingent worker? Tricky question. What do you think? Which one could potentially work year-round? D is correct. All right, true or false? Regardless of income level, financial incentives are always a motivator. That is false. When you become rich, Tim Cook is not starving. He's not motivated by money anymore. Which of the following is not a reason your best employees leave? Your best employees higher up in the organization. Similar answer to the last question. D is correct. An evaluation to measure employee performance, what do we call that? Is that a performance review, performance appraisal, performance management, or 360-degree evaluation? If you know what, I'm splitting hairs here. If you said performance review, I'd still give you credit for it because it's a more common term. Performance review and performance appraisal are interchangeable. Allowing performance in specific areas to unfairly influence overall performance evaluation. Is that the contrast effect, halo horn effect, the similar to me effect, or the get the heck out effect? D is correct. Sick leave, vacation pay, and health plans. Are those entitlements, perks, fringe benefits, or benefit compensation? Correctamundo. All right. Name one of the countries that gives the most required days off. All right. Very good, guys. True or false? Flex time equals employees work the full number of work hours, but in fewer than the standard number of days. That's false. It's compressed work week. All right. True. True or false? Productivity is a concern for compressed work weeks. Think healthcare workers. It is true. Absolutely. Guys, enjoy your Thanksgiving.